I want to say that I am extraordinarily proud of all of you. Well, I'm proud of the vast majority of you. I'm proud of the people who wake up every single morning and really give their trading and this journey that they've decided and given their word that they were going to take. I'm proud of the fact that many of you wake up every single morning dedicated to that. And even though there are some good days and bad days, you do it every single day. And you do it with passion. I see excitement. I see humor, which is always a very good sign. And I am watching, whether you know it or not, I watch a lot more closely than you might think. So I am very proud of a lot of you. Some of the things that really grab my attention are from individuals who have had zero experience at this or markets of any kind before this. And when I see postings of their trades riding a Microsoft out for everything it's worth, gaining a $300 gain, a $150 gain in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever, and I recognize that this individual before this had no idea of what a stock market was, is just absolutely phenomenal to me. And this is why I do this. This is part of why I do this, to expose this to people who previously would never in a million years believe or feel that this is a possibility for a regular person like me. And millions of people believe that throughout the world, and it's simply not true today. And I believe that it is one of my missions to make sure that everyone understands that you can give this an opportunity. It may not work out for you. It may not eventually be for you. But in my opinion, it's something that every single individual should try, because if you happen to be one of those few who trading resonates with, if you happen to be one of those few that make it, if you happen to be one of those few that get so passionate that you will never give up until you reach success, then wow. Because we have so many other choices in life to do this with. You know, just because it may not work is no excuse for not trying. It's no excuse whatsoever, because you may not become a lawyer when you set out to go through 8 years or 6 years of schooling to be a lawyer. That may not work. You may not become a doctor. You may at the age of 18 say, okay, I'm going to go to school to become a doctor. You may not become a doctor. That may not work. You may not like it later, but that's no excuse for not trying the passion that you have right now. Another thing that's not an excuse is that it's hard. There is no excuse because it's hard. That is the number one excuse that I despise. I hate that. When people say, but Oliver, it's so hard. And what? And so what? Who promised you that anything worthwhile obtaining in life was going to be easy? What book did you read? Because I need you to tell me, what book did you read that's in? Did your parents teach you this? That life was supposed to be easy and becoming great at something was easy. So when someone says, but it's hard, I don't understand that. Everything that can lead to greatness, anything, is not going to be easy. That's why it's called greatness. To rise above the masses is never going to be easy. Do you understand this? The whole, let me turn this, guys, I gotta, this shade of mine is, annoying me with the moving back and forth. I don't get this. I want to share a very quick story with you. I don't know if I've ever shared this with my Latin American family. But I spent summers with my grandmother, and not every summer, but many summers. And my grandmother was a very special individual. She was an entrepreneur. She never worked for someone her entire life. She had over 200 employees. And this was an African American woman in the United States during the 1950s and 60s. So this was quite a feat, quite an accomplishment for a female who was a minority in the United States to have a business of that magnitude. Many people have said that my entrepreneurial, no say, my entrepreneurial ways come from my grandmother. Who knows? Anyway, I remember one day my grandmother lived by the beach. She didn't live on the beach. We had to walk maybe 2 blocks to the beach, but it was close. And she said my cousin and I would spend the summers with her. And my cousin, his name was Tony or Anthony. Anthony and I wanted to go to the beach. And she said, okay, listen, I'm going to take you to the beach, but we're going to do something very special today. And we're like, wow, we're going to do something special. And she says, I'm going to take you guys crabbing. We're going to fish for crabs. And we got so excited. So I had never been crabbing before. I love to eat crabs, but I've never been crabbing before. I don't believe my cousin at the time, Anthony, had ever been crabbing. So she gives us each a basket. This is your basket, and this is your basket. And we walk to the beach. And she also gives us 2 little kind of like nets, like you scoop, like nets that you scoop with. So the idea was to scoop up a crab, un congrejo, and put it in the basket or in the bucket, right? Okay. So we go, and she says, listen, I don't want you to go, no, I want you to go out in the water no more than the water up to your knees, all right? And you sit still and you wait for the crabs to come. And so my cousin and I, we proceed to do this, and she said we sprinkled a little food that she gave us, and they began to come, in fairly large numbers. And they were of all different sizes, but they weren't too big. So we began to just frenetically grab crabs in the net and put them in the basket. And after a certain period of time, our baskets began to start becoming full. And this concerns me in particular because I believed that if I continued to put more crabs in the basket, then the crabs would start to crawl out of the basket. So I ran back to shore, and I said, we both ran to shore, and we said, Grandma, Abuela, our baskets are pretty much full, all right? Where are the tops? You forgot to give us a top to put on the basket. And she said, boys, let me tell you something. Let me explain something to you. When you go crabbing, you never need a top for the basket. Do you know why? And we said, well, why, Grandma? Why, Abuela? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué no necesita tapa or whatever? She says, because whenever a single crab tries to crawl up the basket's edge and tries to escape the rest of the crabs will reach up and pull that crab back down. So the need for a top is not necessary because the masses will take care of it for us. Now, I understood that as a 7-year-old boy from the aspect of crabs. It is only when I became 22 or 23 years old did I realize what my grandmother did. Because my mother, when I shared the story, told me she had the same crab lesson with every single one of her children, my mother included. My grandmother taught a lesson of life through this crab hunting or crab fishing experience. That when a person tries to advance himself far beyond the normal level, it becomes very difficult to escape, because once you are identified as one of the crabs trying to escape the masses, trying to rise higher than the other crabs, trying to escape the lower levels, the other crabs don't like that and will do their best to pull you down back to where they are. Rising in anything in life will have this challenge, that inertia, gravity itself, works against the riser. The masses work against the individual trying to escape the masses. This is why we hail becoming great in anything, because to become great or above average means that you have risen above the average. You have escaped the masses. You have escaped the claws of the lower level crabs that don't want to see you escape them. Do you understand what I'm saying? My grandmother taught me this lesson when I was 7 years old, and I pass it on to you. Let's relate this to trading. The forces are against you. I make no secret about that. And every time I'm allowed to give a speech with a mic, I tell you 92% of the people fail at this. I tell you that it's going to be difficult and challenging, but maybe, just maybe, you're going to be one of the 8%. Maybe, just maybe, you're going to be one of the crabs that escape the other crabs at the bottom of the basket. And I want that to be yours. Now, I want that to be you. I want that to be yours. But I do not want you to believe that this somehow is supposed to be easy for you, because it is not. This activity is so great because it is difficult, because it is challenging, because it has a 92% failure rate, because most people don't last, because most people will fail, because most people will lose their money, because most people can't be disciplined, because most people can't master themselves. It is great because of that. So I want you to embrace the difficulty. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want you to be proud of the fact that you are trying to achieve something that most people fail at. I want you to raise your hand and say, you know what? I will die first before I quit at this, because that's what it's going to take. All right? Okay, so that's my sermon for today. All right, that's my sermon for today. I hope it wasn't too long, but just don't give up. Don't expect it to be easy, and it's not going to be easy. Just don't give up. You can outlast failure. You can outlast quitting. You can outlast it to where the crab's claws unleash you and say, okay, that one got away. And then they focus on someone else. The crab starts, if they say, okay, Fernando got away. Okay, let him go. Let's focus on the other ones.